Welcome to EyE on You. The Hong Kong Housing Society was set up in response to the challenges 72 years ago. In the business of housing development, Hong Kong Housing Society always sets its sights on the future, looking beyond the adversity and uncertainty to provide quality housing services for the community.
Over the years, the Hong Kong Housing Society has built its brand of quality homes and pioneering projects, including landmark examples of rental estates, subsidized sales flats, elderly housing, and also transitional housing schemes. In reinforcing its brand, Hong Kong Housing Society has been building homes that align with the best standards and providing innovative housing solutions to address the population's evolving needs. In the future, the Hong Kong Housing Society also pledges to continue exploring new businesses for the long-term developments and also tap the latest technology to improve customer experiences.
As Hong Kong Housing Society takes its mission forward, a significant challenge facing the Hong Kong community is looking for land resources. The Hong Kong government and the Housing Society have been working closely together to provide land for public housing development. While constantly looking for new development sites, the Hong Kong Housing Society has also formulated strategies to optimize the use of existing land resources further and to build socially sustainable housing projects.
Today, we have invited the CEO and Executive Director of the Hong Kong Housing Society, Mr. James Chan Yam Min, to share with us the housing issues that the public is concerned about and how the Hong Kong Housing Society has overcome these difficulties to help the general public to solve their housing problems in the face of epidemic and economic challenges in the past 2 years.
Hello, James.
Hello, Eunice.
Welcome to our show today.
Thank you. And hello, Edward.
Welcome, James.
So the Housing Society has been established since the 1948, and it has different programs, different housing programs and relevant services to provide to respond to the needs of the public. So as the CEO and Executive Director of the Housing Society, can you tell us why the Housing Society is called the Housing Lab and what purpose and what is your mission?
The Housing Society is the first NGO in Hong Kong established to provide public housing service. It was founded at the time when Hong Kong was being rebuilt after the war. And you know that the living condition was generally very poor at the time. Established with a donation of £14,000 after the war, the Housing Society has its mission to provide decent and affordable homes for Hong Kong people. The mission to serve the Hong Kong community has remained unchanged since its establishment. Our first estate was Sung Lei Uk in Sham Shui Po, which was completed in 1952. It was the first public housing estate in Hong Kong. And it was also a breakthrough because it has provided self-contained flats with their own kitchens, bathrooms, and balconies, instead of providing communal facilities prevailing at the time. Sung Lei Uk has actually set the prototype for public housing in future. So after starting as a pioneer of public rental housing, the Housing Society has moved forward with time by exploring various service models, including urban improvement, subsidized housing for sale, sandwich class housing, as well as the more recent elderly housing. Over the years, we have built more than 74,000 residential units. And I think it is a spirit of moving forward with time and with new services has earned the Housing Society a position of housing laboratory.
So along with the economic development and also the social progress, the demand for housing and also public property management have increased. So at different stages, at different times, what have the Housing Society provide and introduced at different times to meet the demand?
As mentioned just now, we started by building rental estate in the 1950s. Sung Lei Uk was the first one. Others built in the 50s and 60s include the Healthy Village, Kwun Tong Garden Estate, Ming Hua Dai Ha. We now have 20 existing rental estates with over 30,000 units. In the 70s, we saw the need to improve the living condition of people who lived in pre-war buildings. And that's why we also redeveloped old buildings in the urban areas. The first project of our urban improvement scheme, 美新樓, was in Kennedy Town. It was launched with loan provided by the government. Over the years, we have built 30 projects, including Progress Garden in油麻地, Jubilant Place in 馬頭角, and the last project, Hollywood Terrace, was completed in 1999. And in the 80s, we saw Hong Kong's economy progresses with rising home ownership aspiration. That's why we started in the late 80s to provide subsidized housing for sale. And over the years, we have 25 subsidized sale projects. Turning to the 90s, we can see the challenge of aging population in Hong Kong. So we embarked on elderly housing project. We have now 2 existing projects, one in Tseung Kwan O, the other in Ngau Tau Kok, which were completed in 2003 and 2004 respectively. And this project provide lease for life tenancy for middle class people aged 60 or above.
So the housing society has built a very good reputation over these few decades, because you are addressing to different classes and different groups of people's needs. So for the housing problem has been in Hong Kong for many years. So can you tell us what is the future plan for the housing society?
We have now 25 projects on hand being planned or under construction, including subsidized sale flat, elderly housing, dedicated rehousing estate, and rental housing redevelopment. And they will provide over 40,000 housing units in the next 20 years, and among which 28,000 will be completed in about 10 years' time. To us, this is an unprecedented production peak over our almost 75 years of history. The Housing Society is indeed glad to be a partner with the government in housing services. It is worth mentioning that we have been assigned by the government a unique role of developing dedicated rehousing estates, DRE. The projects rehouse those eligible residents affected by the government's development or urban redevelopment projects, and that will in turn facilitate provision of land supply for further housing development. And we also note that in the northern metropolis, we shall see major land and housing supply for Hong Kong. And the Housing Society is actively taking forward 3 DRE projects, which are Bak Wo Road in Fun Lang, Hong Shui Kiu, and Gu Dong North. And in the urban areas, we also have 1 DRE project in Kai Tak and the other in Ma Tau Kok. The total number of flats in our DRE projects will be 13,000, and we will be happy to consider taking on for further projects within our capability. And on the other hand, we also will continue to redevelop our aging housing estates and make the full use of the development potential of the sites and increase the total number of units after their completion. Take Yu Gong Chun as an example. The total number of flats will increase by 150% after the completion. So I hope that people can see we have been holding on to our mission by making use of our own resource to provide housing solutions with an innovative mind, and we will continue to create quality and affordable homes for Hong Kong.
Right. I believe that with the extensive constructions coupled with the COVID epidemic will put the housing society under huge pressure. So how are you dealing with such challenge?
Both the huge production volume and COVID are indeed unprecedented challenges to us. As Edward, you have rightly observed, the Housing Society has to manage its resources prudently so as to ensure that all of our work can be taken forward smoothly and within our capabilities. On this, I can say that our financial planning as well as workforce expansion have been prepared well ahead. And we are quite confident that the committed flat production programs could be achieved as planned. While the outbreak of COVID had not been in anyone's plan, I'm glad to say that our risk management system as well as business continuity plan have stood the test over the past 2 years and enable us to respond promptly and adequately during the pandemic. And in fighting against COVID, we have to ensure the safety and well-being of our staff and hence also that of the clients we are serving. I'm relieved to see that our development projects largely remain on track, and I very much hope that we can get over COVID soon and see the end of its impact.
So the Hong Kong population is continue to age. So because according to the statistics, in 2011, there were around 13% of people aged 65, and in last year it's already 20% of people aged 65. So what exactly will the housing society do, and how are we going to expedite the building speed, and how are we going to improve or to maximize the numbers of units for the elderly people?
Perhaps to many people, a signature development of the housing society in the recent years is elderly housing. The senior citizen residence scheme I've mentioned earlier is launched from our vision 20 years ago to promote aging in place. We would like to enable elderly to live and age in an environment familiar to them. The scheme provides a lease for life residence with housing, recreation, medical and care services under one roof for middle-class elderly. Further to the first two projects, which was launched in 2003 and 2004, our third project in Hong Kong, Lei Kung Street, is expected to be complete by end of this year. And to further develop elderly housing service, our latest strategy is to include the residence scheme in integrated development projects, which will have a mix of other housing types as well, like flats for sale and rental housing. And such a strategy will help create a more vibrant and harmonious community and also promote intergenerational living. As we look at Mingwao Daha redevelopment project, it will have a mix of rental housing, flats for sale, as well as elderly housing blocks, all in one community. And similar strategy is also being taken or implemented in our Bat Wo Road project and also Kwun Tong Garden Estate redevelopment project. And we also understand that people, when growing older, will have different needs of their living. So apart from building dedicated elderly units, we also produce barrier-free flats, as well as units with adaptable design which could be easily altered to meet the need of aging residents. With this adaptable design and facilities in place, residents would be able to live in the same flats throughout their lives to realize aging in place.
So you're a top student, graduated from a school called the St. Paul's College.
Well, I'm not the top student.
You are a top student in my one of the top
top
student. And then after you graduated, you entered the workforce as the AO, Administrative Officer. And then you became the CEO of a charity organization. And now you are the head of the Housing Society. So I see a common element among all these posts, which is public administration and also serving people's livelihood. Can you share with us some tips for being successful? And can you tell us, for example, the youths and youngsters in Hong Kong, give them some advice on how can they be more successful in their future?
Yes, Edward, I can see a lot of hope in our young people. When you talk to them, you will find that many are eager to find purpose in their roles, and they would like to pursue a career which could bring positive impact to the community. And I entirely agree that it will be very useful for young people to identify early the purpose they would like to pursue and also do things they have passion. Looking back at myself, I find my interest in entering into public service during my teen, and such an aspiration has led my career journey all along. The other thing I would say is lifelong learning is very important, and it is particularly so in today's fast-changing world, as one may hardly rely on just one skill set for the whole working life. As for myself, I find the on-the-job training as well as the opportunities of different postings during my time with the civil service very useful to help me to set a mindset to learn as well as to open to new opportunities. I think setting a target and being ready to learn, right opportunities will be open to our young people to make good impact from their own career.
Thank you very much, James, for your time. We hope that you can come to our show again soon.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you,
James.
Edward.
Thank you for your
Eunice.
time. Thank
Thanks.
you.